Our future lens. We chose the lens of scenario planning to be the main influence for our project with BBC collaborators. Like I mentioned in my treatment, we wanted to intentionally depart from a design thinking approach, and after careful consideration of tools and methods presented to us as part of Hyper Island's future thinking lectures, we decided to do a future mapping workshop with all our team members. We informed ourselves about the right decisions to make by reading studies such as the Future Today Institute's 15th anniversary Tech Trends report, which opened our eyes to the degree of uncertainty we were working with when exploring the future of an inclusive workspace through technology. Once aligned as a team, we facilitated a future mapping workshop following Hyper Island's toolkit guidelines in order to identify industry trends from the past, the present, and the future, to then recognize patterns that could help us anticipate future workspace issues regarding inclusivity. Once we had a clearer path to follow, we came across emerging research from Copenhagen's Institute for Future Studies white paper, The Future of the Metaverse, in which they speculated upon four different possible kinds of metaverse in the near future. These were the free metaverse, the nerdverse, one metaverse to rule them all, and metaverses disunited. Each of them had different characteristics and attributes, which made it hard for us to understand based on what kind of future scenario to plan our solution. As a team, we then came up with the conclusion that the best way to go about it was to design a solution versatile enough to be adaptable to different kinds of scenarios. We were fortunate to identify that the relevance of adopting the lens of scenario mapping was for us to understand potential user needs in a future scenario, instead of having the ability to accurately predict the future. Looking back upon reflection, I believe that after experiencing the entire project together, realizing this difference between identifying potential future needs and predicting what is going to happen helped us go through a speculative design process, worrying more about enabling opportunities instead of just trying to adapt to how the future would be. Just as Tonkin Wise mentions on the Design Philosophy Papers, Volume 12, there is the bit this is the bit we're interested in, not trying to predict the future, but in using design to open up all sorts of possibilities that can be discussed, debated, and used to collectively define a preferable future for a given group of people. Bringing it back to our challenge, as a group of people, we aimed for the future BBC employees 10 years from now, and as far as the preferable future, we aimed for a system in place that gave an opportunity for decisions and actions to be made having inclusivity considerations across the entire organization. Emerging research on scenario planning. By using one of the four different scenarios proposed by the award-winning game for future thinking, The Thing from the Future, after analyzing some of the trends we identified, we could come up to the conclusion that if the metaverse and the future of work kept on developing without having a system in place, such as the inclusive spiral, the future could end up in a scenario of collapse in which people would have required the long list of abilities and skills previously presented on my treatment. That would end up leaving a lot of people out in a cycle of exclusion. On the other hand, thanks to initiatives such as the inclusive spiral, this future could also end up being one of transformation, in which new systems or rules are put in place for the future of work to be more inclusive and allow more people in and able to take part. We took the invention and consideration of the metaverse as playing a big role in the future of work, as an event that could take individuals' futures in two very different routes.